Posachedwapa tikupasirani interview imene President wa dziko lino la Malawi Dr. Lazarus Chakwera anacheza ndi mtolankhani pamene anali ku German, ndipo ena mwa mafunso amene anamufunsa President yu ndi okhuza kuchedwa kwa malipoti a imfa ya amene anali wachiwiri kwa mtsogoleri wa President Dr. Saulos Chilima amene anamwalira pa ngozi, ndipo mtolankhaniyu anamufunsa President Dr. Lazarus Chakwera makamaka zakuchedwa kwa malipoti a kumwalira kwa Saulos Chilima komanso anthu ena amene anamwalira pa ngozi. Taonerani interview ndipo muone mafunso ena anamufunsa President Dr. Lazarus Chakwera.
Just want to know from you, what do you hope to achieve with this visit to Germany?
Well, I had hoped that we would meet both the private sector as well as government officials, which we did. Mm-hmm. And in Frankfurt as well as in Berlin, we've been able to sign MOUs with various players. Particularly on two fronts. The first, we've been able to sign MOUs to do with marine sector, mm-hmm. transportation on Lake Malawi, and how to manage ports and stuff.
Mm-hmm. So in other words, you're trying to attract more investment opportunities for Malawi.
Absolutely.
And do you believe this will make a difference in terms of boosting the Malawian economy?
Yes, we believe so. In fact, making sure that we make it easy for people to travel using the lake, send out goods, receive goods, as well as make sure that the pricing of such is low, because getting goods and services using the road transport has had its own ill effects on the economy. Mm. And so when this is done, it's going to help out with agriculture in terms of bringing in much easier fertilizers and other imports. And second of all, in terms of tourism, it's going to help a lot of people that come from abroad to see the wonderful lake that we have and be able to cruise on that lake. So both in terms of helping Malawians as well as those who come as tourists, that particular sector and its improvement will definitely add more economic gains, creating jobs for everyone.
All right. During your first term as a president, which is now, you've signed a lot of MOUs with different countries. How many of those have really come to fruition?
There are those that have definitely come to fruition, because these are processes, and once you sign that, you begin to work toward implementation of the same. For example, now we just signed mining development agreements so that people can begin to do what has been followed up on for a number of months. So these things are working.
Okay. Now, Germany's bilateral development with Malawi focuses more on basic education, healthcare, including family planning, HIV and AIDS. Are these top priorities for Malawians?
Yes, they are, in a sense, because when you're talking about human capital development, like we have a vision, Malawi 2063, and that vision can never be implemented and or realized without the necessary human capital. And we need to start from the beginning, where one of the pillars is mindset change, where young people, children, as they grow up knowing what they need to become and how they need to do in order to make sure Malawi does become a self-reliant, inclusively wealthy, industrialized nation And these are the ones that will make it happen. So we need to start from, as it were, the foundation and build way up so everybody gets involved. And we've been doing well in terms of achieving the 95% in terms of HIV and AIDS mitigation. And in fact, we beat those records a couple years ago. So these things are working, and we believe that we can continue on that pathway to make sure that we don't have any slippages.
A few weeks ago, Malawi was hit with a sad situation where the former Deputy President, late Saulos Chilima, passed away. German experts were in the country, in Malawi, recently to carry out investigations following his death. They concluded their investigations and submitted the report to your government, but it is yet to be released. What's the hold-up?
There is no hold-up per se, and so once that report has come to the necessary offices, we will make sure that it is released. When those people came, they also had the privilege, I would say, but for us it was an honor to have the preliminary report even assure the family what they had done and that they were coming going to prepare a preliminary one before a conclusive one, and that has come. And so they will make sure that it is released.
So how long do you think Malawians should wait for that? Just maybe a time frame?
They don't need to wait any longer. We made commitment that we would not want any of that to not be known to all of the Malawians.
And Mr. President, in your statement comparing a Chinese meal to an all-you-can-eat buffet in London recently, were you suggesting the need for greater economic diversity beyond China? Or what did the quote really mean?
When you are dealing with various players all over the world, and you want to maximize what would be good for the Malawian people, then you don't look onto one side, you look at every side that would help the Malawians achieve their vision. And so what we're looking for is partnership that really serves the Malawians and propels them into achieving their desired goal.
Okay. Now, during your 2020 campaign, you promised to fight corruption, improve the economy, and create jobs. How would you, in your own personal capacity, assess your administration performances on these promises?
I would say that as we have moved in the last 4 years, we definitely have made some progress from where we found things to where things are now and to where they could be greatly improved on. For example, we found institutions that were highly politicized, even institutions dealing with issues of corruption. And we have let them become independent, depoliticize that. We found institutions that sometimes were not fully funded deliberately, so they would be incapacitated. We have funded those institutions like they were never funded before. Sometimes even understaffing in such institutions. We have put in people there so people can work as their mandate demands. And therefore, to me, on that level, including making sure that we have legislation and policy to go along with what I just said, to me, that is progress we have made. What we need to do now is to make sure that they deliver in court with convictions, they deliver in court with cases that are sustained. And so for me, I would personally say on that level, we have moved in the right direction.
At what percentage out of 100%? would you rate your...
Percentages?
Yes.
Yeah, I like you be the professor to grade, but I would definitely say, over 70%.
Over 70%. So there's still room for those 30%.
Oh, there is. Oh, no, we're not even out of the woods yet. Some of the other issues have to be followed up with. But we also established by law a special crimes court for financial issues and matters. And so all of that was to see that these matters now can be expedited.
And your decision to send young Malawians to Israel for agricultural training sparked a backlash. How would you respond to critics who view this move as misguided?
I would not really say backlash, but perhaps it sparked a debate.
I would say a backlash, because we've been following a lot of reports and comments even from Malawians. So,
well, you may follow one set of comments. If you followed other sets of comments, you could also see that it's not necessarily a backlash. Even the opposition has encouraged that. When we went into Parliament and these things were explained, and then people say, oh, okay, we didn't understand that. So you wouldn't necessarily say it's a backlash, but it's a good debate. Now you have people across the world from every nation going to every nation with regard to labor issues. And so it would not necessarily be something controversial when a Malawian or when Malawian government goes into an agreement with another government, like it did with Israel. There are people and their agreements from different nations going across the world to work. We have Germans all over the world working. It's not controversial.
All right. Unemployment remains a challenge in Malawi. What happened to the 1 million jobs you promised when you were campaigning to become president of Malawi?
Truly so, and I can tell you that what we have done, even what we are pushing, in terms of agricultural productivity, in terms of tourism and mining, in terms of infrastructure development across the country, and in terms of making sure there is financing for young people, like the fund for entrepreneurs, what we did for small-scale businesses and passed a decree, more or less, to say, an order, I should say, to say that we should empower them. These have been foundation stones for the creation of jobs. Now, you must remember that since we came in, we had to contend with various challenges. COVID was there was a shutdown.
But when you promised them, you knew already that there was COVID, there were issues, so we probably thought that you had a strategy.
No, when we began, we didn't know, and that the world didn't even know. Even those who seem to have known didn't know the extent of what that would result in. And if you look at the economies across Africa and across the world, even in terms of tourism, there were people that got affected. And so all I'm saying is they are facts, but what we have done with regard to what I just started with is the creation of jobs for young people. We didn't find as many employed, 4 to 5, 6 million young people. What we've been able to do now in this space, not in the first year, but in the space that we have covered so far, we have probably now, with the Empowerment Fund, with the reports coming in, created well over 1 million jobs, going into maybe 1.5 million.
You will soon be campaigning again for your second term, I presume, and just to find out from you, what will be different in your manifesto this time? How many jobs will you be promising again?
We will continue to promise jobs. We'll continue to create more jobs. I think the foundation now has been laid to where we can have more of these young people involved in something that is profitable, something that is adding to the growth of the economy. I believe that we'll be able now to have a little bit of exponential growth of that figure that we had initially promised. And we will be able to go back to them and say, now with all of this foundation, with all of these projects going across the country, with all that we have been able to lay a foundation of, and the economy is stabilizing somewhat, now we can take off. And so there should be more than just the million that we had promised in those days.
All right, you mentioned something on COVID. I mean, when you were campaigning for your first term, those were the times of COVID. And right now, the world is also watching the Mpox. I remember you saying something on television that Malawi got doses of vaccines, but then the West had excessive. And just to find out from you, African countries have already started vaccinating against the Mpox disease. Does Malawi have enough vaccines?
In fact, I just came from a SADC summit where this was raised. And we said we must have a coordinated response to this. And I personally led an amendment in some of the resolutions to have all of the health ministers and officials meet so that we can have that type of approach. We do have the Center for Disease Control in Africa that is leading the discussion and how we need to do this. We may not be in a position to produce the vaccines, just like we were not able to do that for that pandemic, but we're in a better position now to be able to respond to the same, because MVAC and others, vaccination folks, they are really wanting to help with everyone that is needing help. We want to be able to respond better than we did initially to COVID. But I have hope that even as this seems to have created such anxiety, that now our people are able to single out specific responses to make sure that we have equitable availability of vaccines.
You just mentioned that you were in Zimbabwe recently at the SADC summit, and from there you went to Italy, now you are in Germany. Many Malawians complain about your frequent travels, saying the money could be used to develop the country. What is your comment on that?
If you were able to see the reasons for my traveling and why, and what is getting back to Malawi, you can never compare with the money spent in that travel. For some time, because of the tragedy we experienced, we canceled trips. But every time that I have moved out, we have made sure that there is better dividends for Malawians. And that's what has happened.
Is it clear to them, though? Do they understand your struggles? Because
I explain. Not everyone can understand. You need to talk about it. You need to continue talking about it. But when they begin to see the fruit manifest, right now, people are beginning to say, oh, okay, so we now understand why you did this or why you did that. It is not always possible for everyone to be on board first time, not even second time sometimes. And so part of what leadership does is to continue to teach, to educate, to explain, and to never take offense when people ask questions or when people criticize, but to be able to be open and to say, this is the reason and this is what I've come with.
So how would you address those ones calling you a globetrotter right now?
How do I address them?
Yes, on this interview.
I am part, and Malawi is part of the community of nations. And no nation at this time, whether they are facing climate challenge issues or pandemics, no nation can be isolated. Even in economic development, we want sovereignty to be understood, that it does not mean a nation is self-contained. And when people understand those things, they will then see how my relationships with Tanzania, Mozambique, and Zambia and Zimbabwe in that region, and then the rest of SADC, these relationships are critical. And so going out to meet with fellow players is essential for Malawi's own development as a land-linked country.
Now, Malawi recently legalized the cultivation of cannabis. You mentioned a little bit on agriculture recently for industrial and medicinal purposes. What inspired this decision, and how has it been received?
There were a little bit of controversy because sometimes marijuana and what people do with that, on one hand, is not necessarily understood in terms of medicinal benefits that come from the same. And so this is a continued process of educating people to say, you don't necessarily throw out the baby with the bathwater. Let's talk and let's come together and let's explain why this is so. I have found that when you do contact and dialogue, rather than condemnation outside of the facts that you need to have in order for you to make your decision, I have found that contact dialogue works all the time. Even when people question certain things, I say, would you come over? Maybe we can work this out. Maybe we can use your idea to make this work. So we've begun with very, very high fees for people to even get license to cultivate. And then we discussed those things. We said, no, it means that most Malawians cannot participate. And so we had to review some of those policies. But the idea is to really to unlock that aspect of what we would need in terms of medicinal benefits, but also creating more jobs and getting people openly involved in cultivating a crop that was hitherto condemned.
Yeah, absolutely, especially coming from you as a theologian, talking about cannabis. But what's the progress like? Has Malawian farmers already started growing cannabis?
There hasn't been that much progress, but some have started. And so we would want to still encourage people to get involved. However, some of the products that have already, because some people have set up small businesses and supply chains where they are showcasing what you can do with that. That is being beamed in Malawi. So people begin to see, oh, okay, we can get this from the same. We don't have to be smoking it.
Now, former President Peter Mutharika has announced his candidacy for the 2025 election. What is your greatest worry about his return to the political stage, if any?
What do I do? What?
Are you worried? Are you scared? Are you excited? Tell us how you feel about that.
Oh, I see. Let him come. Let him compete. We have competed before.
Yeah?
I'm not worried at all.
Are you sure?
It is a democracy.
Okay.
And it is about telling Malawians what they need to do, and they are the best judges. Every time, even when he's been leader of a political party, with his leaders in parliament as leaders of opposition, Every time there's been a by-election and every time they've said Malawi Congress Party is nothing, we have won those elections.
But why should Malawians give you another term?
Why would they not give me another term?
Give them reasons, please.
They have seen how the economy now is stabilizing. We're not out of the woods yet. They have seen how the international community has affirmed the reforms that we're pursuing and coming back with their support. They have seen infrastructure development never seen on that scale across the country. They have seen how that despite the challenges, we have rehabilitated irrigation schemes. We are talking about mega farms, and these have started. We're talking about other issues to do with making sure agriculture is not just taken as subsistence farming, but real business. And they have seen all these things going on. They have seen us going out of our way to make sure there's financing for those who want to go into agriculture commercialization. They have seen evidence of what it means to be supported in your business. And so they would want more of that. They wouldn't want all of this reversed. And that's why they will vote us back into government.
Right, now let's go back to the SADC summit. It just ended recently in Harare, Zimbabwe, but Zambia's President Hakainde Hichilema boycotted. What is the cause of these cracks within the bloc?
You probably have information about a boycott. I don't.
Why was he not there?
I have been a member of SADC for the last 4 years. In fact, I chaired SADC at one point. Every time I've been to SADC meetings, there will always be one or two, for various reasons in their own country, who may not turn up. We don't call that boycotting. And so for me to hear that, shall I use his, HH, to hear my brother boycotted, that would not be...
Did he give a reason, perhaps, that we might hear that from you?
Oh, whenever they say for other exigencies of their work in their country, then they would not come. But the foreign minister was there full-time, and he is the one who represented them. And he was there chairing the Troika virtually. So
yeah, but I would assume, I'm also from Southern Africa, and I would assume that a SADC summit would be something very important for the bloc.
It is extremely important. It is extremely important. But like I told you, I have been to summit of SADC. We have had meetings, even extraordinary ones. Not everyone turns up necessarily. What I'm saying, disputing with you, even though you come from Southern Africa, is to say, using a word boycott, this is the first I've heard of, because he did not boycott.
Okay. Now, you also mentioned about issue of vaccines was discussed at the summit. Was the issue about human rights also discussed, looking at the fact that there seemed to be a crackdown on opposition politicians in Zimbabwe and activists? Even weeks before the summit, as we speak, there were prisoners. I mean, there were politicians and activists that were thrown into prison. Until now, they are languishing in prison. Was any issue of human rights discussed at the summit?
We look at the big picture, and so in the resolutions, we insisted that we put in them issues to do with governance, issues to do with democracy, issues to do with human rights. We're not necessarily in that summit of heads of state calling each other names. We had followed the kind of advice that we always do when our ministers meet and they make recommendations, and then we say this is the best way to do that. And so we discuss these in general terms, but not necessarily to say, can you stand up and tell us about one or two things in your country, even though there may be times when such things get talked about, but it's usually through a program and an agenda that has been vetted by officials and then ministers, and then recommendations made, and we discuss those recommendations.
Just out of curious, before you went to Zimbabwe, did you know about this, that some activists and politicians were being locked up in prison?
I had heard about it, and sometimes I talk with my brother, and it is not necessarily for public consumption, because that's a stance that I have taken dealing with each one of the of my brothers in Southern Africa. I personally take responsibility to discuss such, even when it is not necessarily for media.
Now, SADC has troops in the DRC who are assisting the Congolese government in fighting rebels in the volatile East. Should you leaders not be more focused on stopping the proliferation of Western manufactured weapons fueling conflicts in the continent instead of sending troops?
I don't believe that it is an either or. You know that peace is a prerequisite for development, and when something has already been happening, and then to say, let's just say silence the guns, which we did state a couple of years ago.
But
the guns have not been silenced.
Yes, if you see these rebels, Mr. President.
So look at the root cause. It's not necessarily the gun that somebody has given to somebody else. If you look at the root cause, and I'm happy that now people are beginning to understand these things, and that's why we support efforts that say, take responsibility. Let's not put women and children or treat them the manner we are treating them, because they are the majority people that are affected by such wars. Whether it is proxy wars or whether it is wars to do with who has power over this resource or that resource, we have decided, and it is a community decision, like we did in Mozambique, like we did and are doing in Eastern DRC. It's a decision that says, not necessarily fight, but make sure that we protect those communities. It is a sad commentary that in Africa, sometimes even what's happening in Sudan, these matters are not discussed or taken to a level where they become just as prominent as other conflicts across the world. Africa should not necessarily be fighting itself because others are more interested in making sure that we keep fighting while Africa is being looted. No. So the ability to be able to sit around the table, like the president of Angola, our outgoing chair of SADC, was able to bring brothers together and say, let's have a way forward. These are the efforts we must support. These are the efforts that will silence the guns, not necessarily who sold you this gun.
And very important questions, especially the fact that now Africa is pushing for permanent seats at the UN Security Council.
Absolutely.
What is the AU doing to push for a permanent seat, and how soon are we going to see that become a reality?
It depends on some people that need to agree with what we are doing. When the UN was established, none, maybe a few, but really we were not part of that agreement and that arrangement, and we've been pushing for a reconsideration so that Africa now become bona fide participants around the table, particularly in the Security Council. And so again, every time I've been able to have a chance to speak up, I raise those questions. But I understand how some of these things are. It's not necessarily because we push. It's somebody who needs to agree to the changing of the rules. And the way this thing was really formatted at the beginning is not good for a rule-based multilateral agreement like we push for in this day and age.
President wa dziko lino anacheza naye pamene adali ku German kuyendera ntchito zina zimene akuti zikhale zikuoneka gwero lake pompano, ndipo amfunsa mafunso ambiri nokha mwazimvera, ndipo malingana ndi mmene wayankhira President Dr. Lazarus Chakwera akuti malipoti okhuza za ngozi imene inachitika kwa wachiwiri wa amene anali president wa dziko lino Dr. Saulos Chilima akhale akubwera poyera posachedwa, ndipo amalawi asadandaule mulimonse komanso asaone kuchedwa